Hello everybody, my name is Ratnos, and in today's video we are going to take a look at the upcoming Season 4 metagame in Mythic Plus, what sort of specs we think are going to do well, what sort of specs so TLDR is not too much is changing. This tier list that you're looking at right here, this is not the end result of the Season 4 one, this is actually the 9.2 updated one that we made over on GG WoW. We just kind of went through and me, Dorky, and Tettles went through and moved around our picks going into last season to line up with where we think things were doing at the end of that season, right? At the end of the Season 3. So this is that tier list. This is our prediction, or not our predictions, but our post-Season 3, towards the end of Season 3, how we thought the Season 3 meta actually looked. And it was quite different than how we thought it would look going into it, but going into Season 4, there's only a couple of things that are changing, and so I don't think too much of this needs to change. So we'll go, I guess, point by point, talk about the things that are changing, and see if they move things around on this list. So thing number one that's changing, obviously we have balance changes that have come in. There has been a 15% buff to Starfall. I don't know if that brings balance out of D tier. There's also been several buffs to Shadow Priest AoE. I do think that probably brings them up into C. I think maybe even the 15% Moonkin Starfall damage, I think that might be enough as well. I like the, it was really nice as well when you looked at this list, right? The two of the specs that got buffed were the two that we had down here. So I think that means that our understanding and Blizzard's understanding of which specs were in the most pain lined up pretty nicely. So for now, I'm tentatively going to say, yeah, hopefully this does bring them into this kind of C tier where it's a little bit less urgent bleeding of a class. If I had to guess one of these to stay in D tier, it would still be Moonkin, I think. But Shadow Priest, I think they got a lot of damage on Searing Nightmare and Mindseer and stuff. So I think that might be enough to just make the damage okay for them. Meanwhile, at the top of this list, we have Serve and Destro nerfs. The Serve nerfs were fairly light touch, I think. I think they're going to play out to be a fairly light touch. So I suspect that Serve maybe comes down into A. Destro I'm a little bit less clear on. So Destro's getting some single target buffs, but it's getting the 4-piece, a huge nerf to the 4-piece, which I think maybe brings it down into B. I'm gonna put them in B for now as my prediction for how it'll be in next season, but I have a low degree of confidence for this. I could see it. I mean, it could be worse than I thought and bring them all the way down to, C, or maybe put them up in A. There's also a chance Affliction will be a new desired Warlock spec. I've heard some people mentioning this. I'm not sure if I believe it yet, but I do want to bump up Affliction to B just off of the speculation. I think maybe we'll see it doing well. Windwalker got a 5% nerf to Spinning Crane Kick AoE. I don't think that changes their position. I think A remains an appropriate place for them. And yeah, okay, so what other things are changing next season that will affect this list? Oh, well, I guess also Prot Warrior got buffed. Prot Warrior in B, I think, still makes sense. I don't know. So it got a buff to Ignore Pain, although not a huge buff to it, a 30% buff to how much it absorbs, but the cap has been moved around in such a way that I'm not sure you'll be able to fully leverage that increased absorb shield size on all of your casts of Ignore Pain, but I'm going to have to see actually how it feels to play with. I think it's probably moving it up within the B tier, which I'm kind of inconsistent with whether or not within the tiers is actually represented on this list, but I would say maybe moves it to the top of B tier, but I don't think it necessarily brings it up into A. We also had Prot Paladin buffs, which I think keep it up in A, and maybe Paladin should have been even down in B before those buffs came out. Okay. Besides the balance changes that we've seen here, notably leaving, I think, Holy Priest and Blood Decay probably up uncontested, I think, as premier specs. We have a few other effects that are changing. The encrypted affix is going away. I think the encrypted affix going away is very good news for rogues in particular. The woe buff duplicated a lot of their utility. There's a lot of stuff you could do in dungeons with woe buff that Shroud or sneaking a rogue ahead to do something to start some RP, that kind of stuff, will return in value. It is also worth noting that the dungeon pool itself is changing. That is also going to change the value of different specs in different dungeons, right? We're moving to dungeons like Upper Karazhan, Upper Mechagon being in the pool that are a lot more single target focused than some of the other dungeons that were in the old Season 3 pool. I'm not going to use that too much to change things around, but I do think this probably warrants Rogue going up a tier. In addition to that, Edge of Night is returning as an item, so Rogues are going to gain some benefit from that. That's a very nice item that, being at 311, is going to be very good for them. So I would like to put Subtlety up in A. I think I want to leave Outlaw and Sin in B, but maybe Outlaw should be coming up as well. Not 100% sure. For now, I'm going to leave it. Leave those two specs in B. Other effects that are changing, we've got other returning items like Cruciform Vein Ripper is coming back, and there's been a bunch of trinket rebalances and buffs to rage trinkets as well. It's worth noting as well that items like the Mechagon 2-set rings are coming in, the WAD primary stat rings. We assume the healer crit healing cloak also coming in. None of these items coming back do I think will really shake up the meta or the relative value of specs, except for potentially Hyperthread wrist wraps. That's the Mechagon cloth bracers that were really good for Fire Mage. I think my understanding is they're a little bit less good for Fire Mage than they were at the end of BFA, with the new like Phoenix Flames fire that wasn't in BFA being a little bit less strong than it was with how their combustion worked at the end of BFA. But I'm not a mage scientist, so I'll wait to see. I suspect it will still be a BIS item for Fire Mage, and it may bump up how good they are. I think I think I still like A for Fire. I kind of want to bring Frost down a tad here. I'm not sure A was the right place for Frost even at our end of season tier list for last season. Dorky and Tettles argued with me on it, and I think I let them win on the GG WoW video. But for my tier list, at least, I want to bring Frost down to B. So of the healers, I think I'm pretty happy leaving them where they are. It's worth noting there's a lot of good stuff for Holy Paladin in the Karazhans, a lot of good stuff for the Holy Paladin immunities in that dungeon. So in both of those, in Upper and Lower Kara. I think Resto Shaman, will remain a solid choice. Druid, I think I still like an A as well. Maybe this one should be bumped down to the top of B. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna bump down Druid to the top of B. I don't think it's quite as good as the Shamans and the Paladins in terms of tanking. Brew and Prot Pally, I think absolutely will be up here. Yeah, and then the question mark is how much did Serve get hurt? How much did Destro get hurt? And I think 1 tier for Serve and 2 tiers for Destro is my current guess, but we'll have to see. So this is my prediction for what the Season 4 Mythic Plus metagame is going to look like. Not too dissimilar from the current state of affairs back at the end of Season 3, but I think this is roughly how I would guess it goes down. Yeah, so the DPS specs we're looking at: Mage, Windwalker, Rogue, Survival Hunter, maybe some Warlocks. I think I could get behind that. Yeah, I think I like that being the prediction. Havoc, Fury with Gavel and Jathus. Still, I think not one that I would guess, because they had Gavel this tier as well. Although not everybody who had Gavel this tier, and that's changing next tier, right? Everybody actually gets their BIS items next tier if they are raiding and stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna send it. I think this is my prediction for the Season 4 Mythic Plus metagame. I'm glad to see. I think they moved a lot of specs in good directions for PvE, for Mythic Plus in particular. We saw, I think, well-targeted buffs and nerfs to some of the correct specs. I know there's a lot of outcry, like, why didn't Blood Decay get nerfed? And, Blood Decay probably deserved a little bit of a nerf there. Holy Priest potentially as well. But overall, if there's, like, 6 or 7 classes that should get changed and they change 5 of them, I'm usually pretty happy with that as a patch. I think that hopefully is enough of a shakeup. I think I'm planning to not play Blood Decay next tier to do keys on like Brew, and I think that'll be fine. I think all these specs in A and most of the ones in B as well would be totally fine to be pushing on. And even the ones in C, I don't think are going to be too far behind. I think there's going to be a lot of cool stuff that you can do with these specs in your groups. I think it should be, I would have liked to see some buffs to these specs. I think that would have been a good thing to do. Go for like Guardian Druid buffs. I think would have been Guardian Druid Mistweaver buffs in particular. I think were absolutely warranted as well. But overall, I'm glad to see them doing more than just nerfing Serve and Destro. So yeah, this is my current prediction for what the Season 4 high-key Mythic Plus metagame looks like. I think it will be healthier than the Season 3 one, which was quite unhealthy due to the Destro and Serve effects. I don't think it will be as bad in terms of like pressuring people to reroll, pressuring groups to include very specific specs than the Serve and Destro meta was. So I think that's a step in a good direction. And I think if you are creating your groups, in particular, I think there's the community perception, I think, overrates Blood DK relative to the field. I think the other tanks are closer than people think. So I would adjust that in your head if you're a group creator. And yeah, I don't know. Should be a good season. I hope you're looking forward to it. I hope you enjoyed this little video. Obviously just prediction. We'll see what actually happens, and I will revisit this video in a few months' time and go through and see which of these comments were the stupidest that I've made in the last 10 minutes. Until then, though, thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.